what if I told you there's a career path that the data proves is less stressful and more satisfying, yet most people actively avoid it? It's a real puzzle. Today, we're diving into the entrepreneur's paradox in India. And trust me, the numbers we're about to see might just make you rethink, well, everything. Okay, so to really get this, you have to understand the sheer scale we're talking about. Back in 2015, India's labor force was nearly 500 million people strong. I mean, think about that. That's 487 million people, every single one with hopes and potential. But there's a catch. And that catch is a challenge that's really defined a generation. You see, India was facing this two-sided problem. Not enough jobs for all those people, and at the same time, not enough people with the right skills for the jobs that did exist. It created this huge gap between the country's amazing potential and its reality. So the big question was, how on earth do you bridge a gap that massive? Well, the government's answer back then was to go all in on entrepreneurship. The idea wasn't just, let's create more jobs. It was much deeper. It was about changing mindsets, transforming the idea of starting your own business from a backup plan into the main plan. And that whole push really forces us to ask a super fundamental question about our careers. And that question is pretty simple, right? Who's actually happier? Is it the person with the steady, predictable job, or is it the entrepreneur who's out there blazing their own trail? Well, lucky for us, some really fascinating research decided to tackle that exact question. All right, so here's how they set it up. It was a straight-up comparison. In one corner, you've got 469 employees, folks who were solid in their jobs and had absolutely zero intention of starting their own thing. And in the other corner, 422 entrepreneurs, from newbies just starting out to seasoned pros. So let's see what the data actually showed. They compared these two groups on a bunch of different factors. And yeah, the results were pretty eye-opening. And I mean, right out of the gate, the main takeaway is crystal clear. When you look at the big picture, the difference isn't just a little bit, it's what researchers call statistically significant. Bottom line, entrepreneurs are just plain more satisfied with their lives overall. But, that big number, that's just the headline. The real story, the juicy part, is buried in the details. So let's dig in and figure out why they're happier. Okay, so the data points to 3 huge wins for entrepreneurs. Number 1, autonomy. They feel way more in control of their work and their destiny. Number 2, they actually report less stress. And number 3, and this one might really surprise you, they are more satisfied with how much money they're making. And, this result just completely shatters a huge myth, right? The idea of the overworked, completely burnout founder. Because in this study, entrepreneurs said they were significantly more satisfied with their work-life balance. They actually felt like they had a better handle on juggling their job and their personal life. So let's flip it and look at the pain points, starting with the employees. For them, the dissatisfaction really starts at work. Too much stress, not happy with the income. But that unhappiness at work, it doesn't stay there. It's like a poison that seeps out and starts affecting their satisfaction with life in general. Okay, now contrast that with the entrepreneurs. Yeah, sure, they have regrets about life stuff. I mean, who doesn't? But look really closely at what's not on their list of complaints. Anything about work stress? Nope. Unhappy with their income? Not there. For them, the job itself isn't the source of the problem. So if the root of their unhappiness is so different, the researchers had to know, what's the one single thing, the one crucial factor that truly separates these two groups? To figure this out, they use this really cool statistical tool called factor analysis. The easiest way to think about it is like a super smart filter. It takes all this data, all these different variables about satisfaction, and it sifts through everything to find the one thing that has the biggest impact. And after the computer crunched all the numbers, the analysis just cut right through all the noise. It pointed to one single variable, where the difference between the two groups wasn't just big, it was massive. And that one factor? It was all about stress at work. Basically, both groups were rated on how much they agreed with the statement, I am not exposed to excessive stress at work. Now, the scores might look close, 3.79 for employees versus 4.08 for entrepreneurs, but trust me, in statistics, that gap is a canyon. It's huge. This was a smoking gun. The single most important difference is that entrepreneurs feel way less stressed by their jobs. And this discovery, well, it leads us to a really fascinating, kind of illogical puzzle. I mean, let's just stop and think about this for a second. The data is screaming at us that one path, entrepreneurship, gives you more control, a better work-life balance, and most importantly, less stress. So why would a whole group of smart people, like the employees in this study, flat out refuse to even think about it? Well, the study puts forward a pretty bold answer. It suggests that maybe this isn't a rational choice at all. Sticking with a career that's more stressful and less satisfying when there's another option on the table, that's what economists might call suboptimal or maybe even irrational decision-making. Now, this isn't just some academic thought experiment. This has huge implications for how we think about policy. The study suggests using a framework from psychology called the trans-theoretical model. Basically, it says that people don't just wake up one day and make a massive life change. It happens in stages. Most of the employees in the study are in stage 1, pre-contemplation. They aren't even considering a change. So the whole idea for policy is to gently nudge people from one stage to the next. And let's be super clear here. The goal isn't to force anyone to become an entrepreneur, not at all. It's about advocacy. It's about shining a big, bright light on that other path, challenging those old assumptions and making entrepreneurship a choice that's visible, that's understood, and maybe even something that people aspire to. And that leaves us with a really provocative final question, not just for policymakers, but for every single one of us. The data says a less stressful, more empowering career path exists. So the real question is, what are the invisible barriers, the fears, the expectations from others, the stories we tell ourselves that keep us from even taking a peek down that other road?